All around the garden, the trees are losing their leaves. All different fiery shades of reds, yellows and oranges. Amazing to see, but very soon those trees will be bare and winter will be upon us. Here in the garden, there's still loads of big jungly leaves. They simply don't know that winter's coming. But in just a matter of weeks, or maybe a month or so, a lot of these big leaves will be chopped off and the garden will be looking equally bare and be focused on the winter structure. But there's something that you can do with all the leaves you chop off cannas, banana plants and setae that can really improve your garden next year. Don't just put them into your compost, you can use them in your garden. That's what I want to talk about in today's quick video. A tropical style garden then, it does generate a lot of leafy waste at this time of year in particular, and hopefully by now most of you compost them in some way. You can put them in your brown bin or whatever colour it is where you are. Yes, I do that for my tougher leaves like Trachycarpus, old palm leaves and bamboo and stuff that takes ages to rot down. I'll let them take care of that in a much more efficient process. Some people have got the full-on composting setup, multiple bins where you can move compost from one to the other to the next one. Incredible if you've got the space for it, and the best way of generating a large amount of reusable garden compost. Some people have hot bins, products that are designed to create compost really quickly. But I personally think they can take a lot of upkeep. You need to feed them waste regularly and with the right kind of ratios to generate the right products at the end. What I propose is a way of doing things that's even easier, as long as you've got quite a big garden, or at least you're prepared to have things looking a little bit messy in winter. But honestly, it saves so much effort and it's one of the best things you can do for your soil. With some plants like Mimosa Baju, I generally leave the old leaves on as a form of winter protection. But for others like this Setae, Ventricosa Morellii, this is going to come inside over winter anyway, and you have to chop off all these leaves. You don't have to, but it generally helps. So these soft big leaves, if you give these to your council in your bin, you're just wasting one of the great resources that your garden can give. These leaves essentially are made up of the building blocks that could help produce an amazing tropical display next year. This plant is literally made up of the nutrients that next year's display can thrive on. So what I do is reuse this in the garden next year. And this is something I've done since our old garden. We started off with a small triangle that was basically grass that never grew incredibly well. It was full of moss, never thrived. And in just a few short years, it looked like this, full of all kinds of big leaves, exotic plants, absolutely thriving. Yes, I gave them some manure to start, and I topped that up with some fertiliser in summer, but I think the real reason behind all this growth, behind the huge amount of worms in the soil, is because I reused a lot of the organic matter from the previous year over winter to help set up the next year's growth. Whilst it might not be the answer if you've got lots of plants in pots or areas of gravel, or just like to keep your garden really neat, what I do with mine is, when I've cut down all the leaves at the end of the year, got this big pile of huge soft leaves, I chop them all up and just put them on top of the garden soil. I generally in the garden here have areas that are full of the more tender bedding plants, and there's areas of soil that stay like that in winter. There's no plants pushing through, and in those areas I just lay these leaves and let the weather do its thing. Because they're so soft, these leaves rot down relatively quickly, and if you cut them down smaller, they rot down quicker. But either way, by spring, you can pretty much have no trace of those leaves, other than maybe a few little bits, but you can soon dig them into the soil. You can dig them in if you want. You can make a sort of garden lasagna and put some manure on top of them. That's even better. But whatever you do, if you reuse these leaves, your garden is going to thank you for it. Not just next year's plants, but also the life under the soil. All those worms, all the microbiology under your soil, it really thrives on organic matter. And if you're basically growing plants, taking away from it, and then sending that off to the council compost, you're missing out on that whole cycle, the recycling of organic matter. A good soil means good plants that are adaptable and can cope with tougher extremes of weather. And I think in this time of climate change, that's more important than ever. So rather than seeing big leaves at this time of year as a waste product, as something you have to get rid of, put in your bin, take the skip or anything, if there's a soft leaf that you're relatively sure will rot down over winter, chop it up, put it on your garden soil, make a nice mulch of these leaves. You're definitely going to improve the soil and you've saved yourself a job as well. And even better, if you grow a big bamboo like me here with a huge Phyllostaches vivax over there, you can build basically a compost pile at the base of that bamboo. And that is almost entirely made up of these giant leaves that have left over at the end of the year. because bamboos like nothing more than a good rich soil that can get the roots into rich and organic matter that will hold on to moisture better, and the best way to achieve that is to reuse a lot of your old leaves. So it really is such a simple tip, but it's something that I certainly do here and will continue doing to get the biggest and best exotic display possible. Hope this video has helped you. See you in the next one.